Well, I think one thing you could say about the advisors for all the candidates who have a chance is that the presence of these advisors makes it clear that these candidates aren't serious about enforcing the murder laws, and that they're willing to kill civilians, foreign civilians, en masse in order to advance U.S. policy, and they're not serious about law and order. They're soft on crime. Let's start with Clinton. Madeleine Albright, she was the main force behind the Iraq sanctions that killed more than 400,000 Iraqi civilians. General Wesley Clark, he was the one who ran the bombing of Serbia and the former Yugoslavia, came out and publicly said that he was going after civilian targets like electrical plants, like the TV station there. Richard Holbrooke, in the Carter administration, he was the one who oversaw the shipment of weapons to the Indonesian military as they were illegally invading East Timor and killing a third of the population there. And he was the one who kept the UN Security Council from enforcing its resolution against that invasion. Strobe Talbot, he was the one who, during the Clinton administration, oversaw Russia policy, a backing of Yeltsin, which resulted in turning over the national wealth to the oligarchs, and a drop in life expectancy in much of Russia of about 15 years. Massive death. And you have various backers of the Iraq invasion and occupation and the recent escalation, people like General Jack Keane, Michael O'Hanlon, and others. That's just Clinton.
Barack Obama.
Well, Obama's top advisor is Zbigniew Brzezinski. Brzezinski gave an interview to the French press a number of years ago where he boasted about the fact that it was he who created the whole Afghan jihadi movement, the movement that produced Osama bin Laden. And he was asked by the interviewer, well, don't you think this might have had some bad consequences? And Brzezinski replied, absolutely not. It was definitely worth it because we were going after the Soviets. We were getting the Soviets. Another top Obama person.
I think his comment actually was, what's a few riled up Muslims? And that whole idea of blowback, the idea of arming, financing, training the Mujahideen in Afghanistan to fight the Soviets, including Osama bin Laden. And then when they're done with the Soviets, they set their sights, well, on the United States.
And later, during Bill Clinton's administration, during the Bosnia killing, the U.S. actually flew some of the Afghan Mujahideen, the early al-Qaeda people. The U.S. actually arranged for them to be flown from there to Bosnia to fight on the Muslim NATO side. Another key Obama advisor, Anthony Lake, he was the main force behind the U.S. invasion of Haiti in the mid-Clinton years, during which they brought back Aristide, essentially in political chains, pledged to support a World Bank, IMF overhaul of the economy, which resulted in an increase in malnutrition deaths among Haitians, and set the stage for the current ongoing political disaster in Haiti. Another Obama advisor, General Merrill McPeak, an Air Force man, who not long after the Dili massacre in East Timor in '91, that you and I survived, he was, I happened to see on Indonesian TV shortly after that, there was General McPeak overseeing the delivery to Indonesia of U.S. fighter planes. Another key Obama advisor, Dennis Ross. Ross, for many years under both Clinton and Bush II, a key, Clinton under both, he has advised Clinton and both Bushes. He oversaw U.S. policy toward Israel-Palestine. He pushed the principle that the legal rights of the Palestinians, the rights recognized under international law, must be subordinated to the needs of the state of the Israeli government. In other words, their desires to expand, to do whatever they want in the occupied territories. And Ross was one of the people who, interestingly, led the political assault on former Democratic President Jimmy Carter. Carter, no peacenik. I mean, Carter is the one who bears ultimate responsibility for that Timor terror that Holbrooke was involved in. But Ross led an assault on him because, regarding Palestine, Carter was so bold as to agree with Bishop Desmond Tutu of South Africa that what Israel was doing in the occupied territories was tantamount to apartheid. And so Ross was one of those who fiercely attacked him. Another Obama advisor, Sarah Sewell, who heads a human rights center at Harvard and is a former defense official, she wrote the introduction to General Petraeus's Marine Corps Army counterinsurgency handbook. The handbook that is now being used worldwide by U.S. troops in various killing operations. That's the Obama team.
John Edwards?
Well, Edwards is a little different. The list of his foreign advisors is not as complete, so it's not as clear exactly where they may be coming from, but it's interesting. Last night on TV, one of the top Edwards advisors, Mudcat Saunders, was complaining about the fact that there are 35,000 lobbyists in Washington. And it appears from the Edwards list that many of the military lobbyists are working on the Edwards foreign policy team, because the Edwards names that are out there mainly come from the Army and the Air Force and the Navy Materiel Command. Those are the portions of the Pentagon that do the defense contracts, that do the deals with the big companies like Raytheon and Boeing, etc. One of those listed on the Edwards team is the lobbyist for the big military contractor EADS. Although Edwards talks about going after lobbyists, if he tries to go after the military lobbyists, he may get a little blowback from his own advisors.